Welcome back, viewers. I'm sitting here with Sonali Sadequee. She's actually the sister of Shiva, who's been held right now in Indiana under the implications of him being a terrorist or as somebody who provides materials to terrorists. So first, I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, I should say.
Happy 2014. Yeah.
So please tell our viewers who are watching, how did this all get started? How did your brother get to be in such a terrorist threat to the United States?
Well, he's actually not. In fact, let me give you a little bit more of a background about my family, about him.
Okay.
So my family, my parents, we all immigrated here from Bangladesh back in late 1980s.
Okay.
And we've been here, actually, in Atlanta. I'm just in New York.
Yeah, I read that. He grew up in
but we live in Atlanta. We grew up in Atlanta, went through, elementary, middle, high school over there. And my little brother, who's right now been in prison for almost going on 8 years. And he was actually arrested when he was only about 19. And so he's been there for a while. And the very first 3 years from his arrest, actually 3.5 years, he was in solitary confinement without a trial, which is a huge, just a human rights violation. He was really he had not created or done anything violent at all. There was nothing violent. In fact, the Attorney General in Georgia at that time, when they took my brother away from us, said, "Oh, we have him." And then there was another young man, also Harris Ahmed, who was also taken away and arrested from his family in Atlanta. And there were two young men that were friends, and the Attorney General came in TV and said, "These men have done nothing violent."
Wow.
So it was really it's just surprising and scary. Like, why then are they being held in solitary confinement? So a lot of what he did in terms of his sharing is he was actually sharing on the internet, chatting online, just like a lot of us young people do, chatting online, and then intellectually discussing teachings, and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of information, not just about Islam, but they're just doing. But what it is that the government, I guess through informants or whatever, that the government does, they were screening and surveilling the internet conversations and whatnot. And because it was happening amongst young Muslim men, the government was even more, I guess, surveilling them even more, just because this is, post 9/11.
Yeah.
And the government is saying that, with the whole post 9/11, and the Patriot Act and all these other arbitrary laws the government put in place that are completely unconstitutional, the government is now able to criminalize amazing spirits and inspirational spirits like my brother, that are really doing nothing wrong, and that is what makes it so scary for me. I'm like, wait, if the government can do that with him, the government can do this with anybody. So he has a way of touching people. Okay. And I think that is the reason why the government has him and other men like him that are also prolific, that are also very inspirational, that are also speaking truth to power. That's why they have them in what we call in the prison system that is called the CMU, which is the Communication Management Unit.
Okay.
And in those particular kinds of prisons, the whole purpose of it is, guess what?
What? To
shut and hinder communication amongst the inmates, and then the inmates with the rest of the community, the families, the outside community.
Okay.
Really, because their mind is so amazing that the government doesn't want their mind and what's in their mind to be getting over to the population or the community.
Right. So I understand that there was a panel and a lunch yesterday. So tell me about that.
Oh, it was amazing. The event was called. Actually, it's a campaign. It's a greater campaign. The event last night was just a launching, and it's No Separate Justice. Basically, recognizing, acknowledging that when it's when people like my brother and other men, there's so many other men that have been silenced, like my brother has been, that have been put away, locked away, when people like them are being held, and like just the question I asked, like, how is that justice? And that locking them away does not mean there's justice for us and the people that are outside of prison, that are out in public and free. That is not justice for us, because these are amazing teachers, they're scholars, they're community leaders. My brother was involved in a lot of community-based organizations in Atlanta.
Okay.
He was actually working with me in a women's rights organization, and so working to stop violence against women.
Wow.
And he was helping create conferences, and he was involved in the Muslim community as well, offering speeches to the in the mosque, in the masjid as well. And so it's really I mean, I miss him. My family miss him. My parents are devastated. What has happened.
It's funny you just mentioned your parents. I was gonna ask, how has this impacted your family?
It's been a traumatic journey. The very first few years, I and my family, we were so heartbroken, and really heartbroken because what's going on with our, Shifa's our baby, and he's also like the light of the family. He did not deserve to be treated. He does not deserve to be treated the way he has been.
Wow.
And not only that, he's like imagine a source of light has been taken away from you, and then just the missing of that.
I feel like I would have to invite you again for another sit down so we can get more in depth with that. But for people watching at home, how can they get involved into this new campaign?
Okay, so I think there's a website for this campaign. It's No.
That's the flyer.
Okay, great. Yeah, so it's no-separate-justice.org. So you can visit their website. There's a lot of conversations happening. There's also tweeting going on about the event from last night, so you'll get a great sense of what was happening last night. I don't think we'll ever be fixed unless he's home back with us.
Wow, you're making me a little teary.
You're making me teary.
No.
Having me talk about this.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
But what does your family want the world to know?
Well, first of all, we feel betrayed by our government.
Okay.
I think that our government has done a great job of using mass media to hypnotize the population in a very, very insidious way. And it's really not doing justice to the population. It's not doing justice to us. And what it's doing is it's using our taxpayers' money on purposes, on people like my brother, government is using our tax money to capture. He was actually extradited from Bangladesh because he was actually there with my father for a moment, and he had just gotten married, and he was actually kidnapped, and then the government brought him to the U.S. And I mean, our money is going to do something like that when it could be going to really like healthcare. I mean, this country, we're needing so much support with health and wellness and prevention, when it could be going on education for children, where it can be going to other communities that have been marginalized, and that money can be used for that. I mean, really, we have so many other real problems that the government can be using their resources on, but they're using it on people like my brother and other Muslim men that are completely model citizens, if anything. They're future leaders, and I think the government is afraid, that certain Islamic, certain Islamic, inspirational light spirits will rise up to become amazing leaders, and the government doesn't want that. When our loved one gets pulled and imprisoned like this, there's so much resource that is taken, and so much resource that is needed to sustain, because a lot of these that are either fathers or their husbands, that were supporting the family, but now that they've been taken away, now the mothers or the daughters, they're just kind of left. So what do? There's not enough support system. And so we need funding, we need support. So there's always funding needed to support these families. Write letters to our brothers, to our uncles. We say, go to the website and you'll see where you can send the letters. Let them know that you are there. You're there for them, and you get how justice is not serving them. It helps them to know, to see that there's support out there. It helps them to just continue to sustain themselves. So things like that will really help. And then also start speaking truth. This is what's going on is just a distraction. It's the Muslim community has become the new scapegoat. This is not new. What's happening to the Muslim community is not new. This has happened to the African American communities. Freedom fighters in general.
I mean, we've all gone through
and
it.
It's always been some sort of a community of color that has been used as a scapegoat to really criminalize, and really when that's not the real issue here, And so, but yeah.
So I want to thank you for joining me today,
and
we will keep in touch to know more about the case on your brother.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.